exacerbated the calls. She consoled Ernesto that she planned to stay by him through various challenges, regardless of what. Yet the fascinating part that truly grabbed individuals' eye was the point at which she began discussing Steve and Marjorie. As per her, Steve had her visit in his home after the embarrassment previously broke last year, since he was attempting to be a steady companion and shield her from the reaction in the media. Yet rather than being thankful to Steve for having her back, she ridiculed him for being rusty and getting gasping for air when he was strolling up the steps. He got a major colossal rec center like tremendous, with a wide range of best-in-class gear. I mean, I'm not working out yet, basically. I'm strolling, I'm attempting. I wasn't short of breath going up those steps. I let you know that he was breathing like for genuine. Yes, kid. She clear never found out about how you ought to never nibble the finger that takes care of you. And afterward, she blamed Marjorie for peering down on her and dealing with her like the assist that says the heth you with realizing. You let me know that that is not a decent vibe. Definitely wow, right. And that is, you realize what will be will be. She guaranteed that Marjorie made a special effort to stay away from her, and she seldom saw her while she remained in the Harvey home. She likewise painted a picture of Marjorie as a rich, ruined housewife who just got rubs the entire day and spent her significant other's cash. Like I said, the sound got delivered last week, and the timing could never have been more awful for Steve and Marjorie. The breaks happened when Marjorie and Steve were additionally getting a ton of head for Marjorie's supposed undertaking with Steve's guardian. There were individuals discussing her previous history for certain really questionable men, and all that. There were likewise discussions about how Marjorie was just involving Steve for his cash, and she was never that into him. So when Shirley's sound spilled, it just added more fuel to the fire and got Marjorie hauled considerably more. Steve at long last chosen to address what is going on, since in such a case that there is one thing that Steve doesn't mess with is Marjorie. He is fixated on her and has never been reluctant to deny it. He emerged to deny the bamboozling charges, yet he is presently taking things a piece further and tending to the Shirley sounds. Besides the fact that he tended to it, yet he likewise took his resentment out on Shirley and hammered her for attempting to discuss Marjorie. He and Shirley tended to the circumstance on the Steve Harvey morning show. And kid, there was a ton to say. Charlie got going by saying that Ernesto is still in prison, and she has at last decided to leave him and petition for legal separation. Steve, I will simply begin by saying that, my alienated spouse is in prison. He's been in prison for more than a year, since about the right after the 4th of July of 2022. So Ernesto has been in prison for over a year now, and it looks like Shirley has at last awakened and begun making the best choice. She is as of now not longer staying by Ernesto and has passed on him to confront the results of his activities alone. Clearly Ernesto is on his way down, and she expected to dump him, or he would bring her down with him. Since we should be genuine, it's truly influencing her vocation. She is in a real sense a relationship master, and for her to be with a man like Ernesto is simply not a decent look. The idea of his violations are horrendous to such an extent that it was absolutely impossible that she might have stayed above water on the off chance that she hadn't removed him. So great for her for pursuing the best decision. She likewise tended to her remarks about Steve being flabby, as well as her remarks about Marjorie and how Marjorie mistreated her like the damnation. Some calls from last year he and I were released, and on those calls you hear me saying you were short of breath going up the steps of your home. And Marjorie views at us as the assistants, and on the spot I need to apologize to you and Marjorie for what I expressed. However much I wish I could, I can't take it back. I can't. I said it, and you realize I need to apologize. It was most certainly not me attempting to add to what you and Marjorie, as of now, have happening in your lives. Now she did the savvy thing by saying sorry to Steve on air, yet fans actually felt like she actually didn't assume a sense of ownership with her words. As opposed to tolerating what she did, was off base she chose to fault fans and web journals for pushing the sound and exploding it. Yet the way that these tapes were delivered, it appear as though everybody is coming to you at coming for you. I ought to say as of now incorporating me, yet as a general rule the tapes don't have anything to do with what you and Marjorie have going. On it was me flapping my gums in a confidential discussion, or my thought process was a confidential discussion. And again, I am sorry I feel awful. I concoct no reasons, you know. Why I got out whatever I said, and there's no denying it except for, as fans have brought up, there would not be anything to explode on the off chance that she wasn't flapping her gums about Stephen Marjorie in any case. In addition to individuals, except that her words show how she truly feels about Stephen Marjorie. And she could do without them, however much she behaves as she does Enio, who she additionally uncovered that the explanation she has stayed quiet on this show so far is that it has been challenging for her to discuss it, difficult for me to bring this specific thing up. I was so humiliated, you know, and embarrassed. And I just felt like a bonehead. I felt so moronic. And you know I would I be able to. It isn't so much that I would have rather not discussed it. I just couldn't find the words. And that is the fair to God's reality. It's not difficult to perceive how and why she would feel as such in light of the fact that she has been getting a ton of disdain from the web. She has been hauled and derided for being a defender and staying with a serious, terrible man wrongdoings. No doubt I get why she would need to take off and stow away from all of that now. Steve grasped her circumstance, yet he was still hella distraught at her for her remarks about Marjorie, in light of the fact that as per him her remarks made things very monstrous for Marjorie I'm accompanying now, is on the grounds that it done. God, it's been so revolting for my significant other man. And see this I've never finished before it's been so appalling for my better half. And I've remained there doing whatever it takes not to say, only rather I'm not a blog. Steve doesn't play about Marjorie in light of the fact that he wasn't even made a fuss over Shirley's remarks about him and how he was rusty. His main concern was Marjorie. And he uncovered that the chaotic circumstance just drove him and Marjorie closer to gave circle. Thank you for doing that, and you won't separate us. And we not going no place. And she is none of what she said she is. And she the best chick. I realize now I'm protecting her. And you can feel how you need to feel about that. That is the God in me. Yet toward the day's end, Steve chose to be the greater individual and acknowledge Shirley's conciliatory sentiment. You family, everything is excused. We come into work, Tommy. Another thing truly significant, Shirley, they will keep on cooperating and having a functioning relationship. Yet I figure we can all concur that things are never going to be something very similar between them after this, since he is continuously going to recall the things she said about him and his better half, despite the fact that he professes to have pardoned her. It will be quite hard for him to give up and fail to remember the things she said about him. And Marjorie fans have various conclusions about this. And they said I acquired regard for Steve. After this, it takes a major individual to stretch out a little elegance to somebody who has harmed you purposefully or unexpectedly, particularly when you don't need to. I've seen a ton of celebrities inner self-excursion and discharge the individual after something like this. And Charlie reserved the privilege to feel the manner in which she felt and say how she believed she might have felt that Marjorie took a gander at her that way around. Then we don't get to let individuals know how they ought to feel. I praise her for getting on air and saying sorry. Now there are even certain individuals who accept that Marjorie made Steve for morose to apologize, saying Marjorie strikes me as the kind of lady who is behind Steve destroying him and letting him know he needs to cause her to apologize freely. This is about inner self, as this lady's life is in such a state in the background. She should be set in that frame of mind to be graveling openly on top of what she is as of now go through. Yet do you folks accept that mirror is behind this, or do you feel